we are where we are right now, and where we are is hard and can feel really exhausting. So like I hear educators saying the emotions, the behaviors, that's contributing to me feeling burned out at the end of every day over and over again. So if we're going to shift and we're going to try to get proactive and we're going to, try to shift our own mindset and see this as a gift of how we need to pivot and where we need to go, can you give us some tips, like practical tips, maybe 3 practical tips on how we can show up so that we're more proactive instead of being this reactive mode?
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't feel good to be in that burnout mode. And what does feel good as a professional is feeling like you're at the top of your craft. But when you have kids with these meltdown or tantrum behaviors, it's hard to know what to do when the traditional education system hasn't really prepared us for it. So the top 3 strategies I would recommend really begins with understanding how to help kids feel calm. Now, when you're listening to this, please pay attention to 2 lenses. In order to help kids feel calm, you want to understand the tactic that I'm describing, but you also want to reflect on yourself, because if you don't do this internally, implementing this tactic is actually going to be kind of challenging for you. So yes, there's a gift that the children are bringing to us in this world. And by applying these tactics, the gift is that you get to become the better version of yourself as well. So the first strategy is understanding how to create a calm zone for children. So the whole topic of discipline and consequences is popular, and there's so many things that you could do in a school setting. What I would suggest is making sure that you proactively set up in the classroom a group dynamic where everybody understands if somebody is having a hard day, they get to go to the calm zone so that they can find their calm again inside. Reflecting with the students, what does it feel like when you are upset? What does it look like when you're upset? And what does it feel like when you feel calm? What does it feel like when it feels good? Like, what is the emotion associated with that? So not using a calm zone as, oh, Billy's having a hard day, send him out into the hallway or send him to the principal's office, but knowing that this is our opportunity to teach. And the root of the word discipline, do you know what the root of the word discipline means?
To teach?
It is. It's to teach.
Mm-hmm.
So it is helping us be more in integrity as professionals. We literally are teaching these kids how to get calm again. The calm zone might include things like fidget toys. It might include things like those expandable breathing balls. I think they're called the Hoberman sphere. There might be a glitter jar in the calm zone as well, so that if the brain is all stirred up, and you would set this up with kids in advance, they get to watch the glitter settle so that the brain settles as well. Neuroscience shows us that once kids get into a space where they're able to get calm, it takes 30 seconds for the stress chemicals to settle. That is a huge gift that you can teach children, how to actually get calm again. The second tactic is to make sure you're communicating with kids at the emotional level. It is really easy for us to live in a world of so that. So it sounds like this. I get up at 5:30 a.m. so that I can work out on the treadmill for half an hour, so that I can get myself ready for the school day, so that I can get in the car, so that I can prep what I need to for the day, so that when the bell rings, I'm prepared for the children and I can take them through this lesson, so that I can take them through that lesson, so that I can take them through lunch. Right? Like there's all of these steps along the way that are very task oriented. And if you expand this out, you'd even say, we do all of these things, we get through the meltdown so that the bell rings at the end of the day, so that I can do my paperwork, so that I can get home and have dinner, so that I can do my chores, so that I can drop into bed exhausted at 10 o'clock at night. You keep following me?
Sounds about right. You see why I brought her.
So this world of so that is very task oriented. I believe what these children are teaching us is that us asking them to live in a task-oriented world is not good for them, and it is not good for us either. So what we want to do is we want to connect with kids when they're expressing frustration or irritation, like mild to moderate level emotions. If their brain is already on fire, the strategy I'm about to say doesn't work very well, but it works well if you catch them early, if you're really tuned into them and paying attention. So let's say Jessica comes in and you can tell that she's had a rough morning, and maybe a parent even said that. So what you would do is you would acknowledge and validate the emotion by saying, Jessica, you look upset. You would take a moment out of preparing for your next task and you would connect with the child emotionally. When you label a child's emotion and then you put a period at the end of your sentence, you look upset. The natural next step is for the person who you're talking to express more of that emotion. So she might even burst into tears. Jessica might be like, yeah, my parent yelled at me and I didn't get this done and I didn't get the little homework form signed. And that's okay. Like, we want that to happen so that it doesn't get so bottled up that an hour from now, when you're asking her to do timetable, she reaches out and grabs the kid's paper next to her and rips it because of that stress that's accumulated. So when you label a child's emotion, you stop talking and then you give them space to process, and then you validate them again and give them space to process, and you validate them again. Like, I can see that was really upsetting. You tend to see kids' body language softening, and they might even kind of like slouch down a little bit, and Jessica could say something like, yeah, that was really hard. So you end that with the directive. Now you can say, and it's time to go sit in your desk. So while this takes extra time at the beginning, it shortens the time that it takes at the end.
This is reminding me, if I can interject for 1 second, just that saying that sometimes we need to go slow to go fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we're in that, like, yeah, but but I have to do this so that.
Yes.
Just breathing and pausing. Remember, in order to do that, I first need to do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep, you've got it. And in order to connect with a child emotionally, you have to know where you're at. So if you're starting to get revved up, it's pausing and taking a breath so that you can really be there for children. The third strategy, so we've talked about having a calm zone, we've talked about validating and acknowledging kids' emotions, and then the third one is to create room for happy chemicals. So happy chemicals really just means something that feels good inside. The root, like where this term came from, is when I would go shopping with my 3 sisters and come out of the dressing room. If I wasn't sure if I should buy an outfit or not, one of them would say, oh, I think you should definitely buy that. And if inside I went, okay, like I knew that I had happy chemicals flooding my brain and that was something that would serve me really well. But if they said, you should buy that, and I went, oh, like that inner feeling was telling me that I wasn't aligned and that I really shouldn't buy the outfit. So I've taken this concept over into the professional world to talk about happy chemicals. And with children, the world of so that consistently brings up their stress levels throughout the day because, sitting in a desk and doing homework and doing cognitive tasks and keeping your hands to yourself and getting in line and being quiet, those are all adult activities. That is not a child's natural world. A child's natural world is play and multi-sensory digging in the dirt, and it's so much more creative and imaginative. My encouragement is when you have intense children or any child, it's important for them to have an experience of happy chemicals where throughout the day they kind of stop and they're like, this is fun to be here. I like being around my teacher. I like being around my friends. I like learning. I like school. You can set them up for that by having the structure of your day where, of course, you need to get the math in and the reading in and all of the other things, but not waiting until the end of the day or too late in the day to do something that creates happy chemicals. So if you're an educator for really young children and you have circle time, knowing that it can be fun instead of just sit there with your hands in your lap, which might not be happy chemicals. It might be something like bopping around in the morning instead. Knowing that if kids are coming in and you're working with kids who are from like in an at-risk population, maybe what they need are things like sand tables in the morning. And of course, if you have older kids, you would just expand this concept using your own wisdom. But a way to transition in so that they can let all of that stress from the morning roll off their back, and in this new environment, they have happy chemicals. If your environment and your persona and way you're connecting with children and setting up their days creates a positive sensation and association, they are more likely to listen, they are more likely to have self-control and be happy children.